the latest lowdown in sports. I'm Yvonne.
And I'm Eugene. Once again, we have Ernest in our living room. Ernest is Deputy Sports Editor for the new paper.
That's right. So, Ernest, what are we on to today? The Puppet Premier League, obviously.
Yeah, Puppet Premier League is a name that I coined for the English Premier League regarding the recent controversies where the managers, you've got Alan Kirbishley leaving West Ham. Kevin Keegan has just left Newcastle. And although it's not going to happen so soon, but I might see the same thing happening to Mark Hughes at Manchester City, especially after the United Arab Emirates group took over, you know. So I think the problem with this Puppet Premier League, as I call it, is that they are in danger of being puppets. The managers, they're being reduced to that virtually because Alan Kirbishley revealed that he was not given control over the transfers and all that. They actually sold players without his knowledge on transfer deadline day. This is actually the owners and also the board members, you know, who are getting into the act. And as we've seen with the Keegan example, also the same thing.
Can I just add, is it possible because with all these owners coming in, they're adopting a different model? Maybe they're adopting a more continental model where they bring in like different levels of coaching, of scouting and buying, whereas in the old English model, maybe the manager handles everything. He does he makes the decisions of who to buy and what to buy. Whereas perhaps in the continental system, they have sporting directors,
directors of football,
and so perhaps they are, these owners are importing all these systems in.
Yeah, and Real Madrid is quite famous for this example. You know, they have Mijatovic as well, and Spurs actually were one of the first few English clubs to bring in the system. It didn't help them at first, and I think they're really much finding their feet around this entire process. But I think if you look at the most successful clubs in history, in recent history, Arsenal and Manchester United, it's very much left to the manager. Whether that's the way to go forward, you know, is debatable.
There has to be some merit to it, though. I mean, for them to, first of all, I guess it's a practice that's been gone about on the continent again, in most leagues like, I guess, Germany, Italy, and Spain.
I think the problem might be a clash of egos here. If you look at Newcastle, for example, you've got a former player, Dennis Wise. You know, obviously he has footballing knowledge himself, managing experience himself. So he probably recommends, because he's in a board of directors role there, so he has influence. And it depends on how they separate the roles. You know, is the owner supposed to approve just the transfer buys? Now, who recommends the transfer buys to him, and who goes out to do the scouting? I think there's always going to be a clash of opinions over the direction for the club. Direction for players. Some managers insist that they must have total control. So we do not know whether the English managers are the ones who are having trouble adapting to this imported, as you said, continental style of management. You know, so it remains to be seen. Actually, it's very interesting times for the English Premier League. I don't think there's any issue with them being foreign. It can happen to anyone. Look at Newcastle; they're all English. You know, even Newcastle fans themselves. Mike Ashley, the owner.
You think that they would have worked it out earlier, because I mean, if I'm the manager and I see someone like Dennis Wise coming in, he has or Frank Anderson coming into to Chelsea, you know, they would have defined roles like, okay, you know, Frank, you do this, you do that, and avoid clashes like how Anderson obviously clashed with Mourinho, and that expedited his exit from Chelsea as well.
I think, yes, as you said, I mean, if everyone's quite clear from... Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I think generally at these big and popular clubs and all that, there's always going to be a bit of a tussle, you know, like anywhere, in any office politics, you know, it goes on anywhere. And in football, you can't get much bigger than that. So, yeah.
Would you call the managers pansies, though? I mean, they get paid lots of money, and basically they have people. You know, I guess they're breaking down the rules of the manager. You're the manager, you coach the team, you prepare the team, and so what's the big deal? You know?
Yeah, you could do. I mean, they'll say to you, "Look, I've got you the best players." You know, like for example, Dr. Sulaiman at Manchester City says, "I've got you now, Robinho. You know, it's up to you to make a world-class player out of him, or you know, make him fit into the team. You know, but again, it depends on the manager, I guess." There are certain players that he wants who fits into his team style philosophy. He may not automatically want to go for Robinho. But, like you said, if you're given someone like Cristiano Ronaldo at the last minute, I don't think any manager is going to be saying no, right? So, I guess, what's happening now, there's a lot of pressure. And all the managers that have left recently, Alan Kirby, he was under pressure. The results weren't coming in. And even Keegan also, I had my doubts as to how long he would last. I'm surprised that he actually left this early in the season. So,
okay, moving on to the close of the transfer window. Who do you think did the best business deal?
I think it would have to be Manchester United on paper, although I'm quite interested in the way Spurs will turn out after the buys, Coluca, and so I think it does. Again, it depends on the shape and the system.
Robinho?
Sorry?
Robinho to Man City?
Now, Robinho to Man City, I can see how he will excite. At first, originally, my first instinct was, no way. I mean, what? Robinho in Manchester City? And then I was sidetracked because I realized I was at fault. Because I was thinking, how can a glamorous guy like this guy end up in a team like Manchester City, right? Then I started to look at the team again, the team lineup, and Robinho and Joe. Then it started to click a bit. Yeah, because both of them are Brazilians. They could form a partnership up front. Could be a good, decent strike partnership. We never know. Peter Crouch and Jermaine Defoe had just hit it off, at Portsmouth. And now Berbatov comes in at Manchester United. How he links up with Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez, that's going to be very interesting. So I would say don't rule out the Robinho-Joe connection, Manchester City.
So with Man City's newfound wealth, do you think it's a case of a Big Five now instead of a Big Four team?
Yeah, someone said that to me about Spurs joining the Big Five. I'm still going to stick to my same instinct, which is to wait until... On paper, yes, it does look... But I think the problem is up front. I mean, I was watching Spurs against Chelsea last weekend. I really was close to falling asleep because they were lack of ambition, sitting back. While they held Chelsea to a draw, it's really quite boring. So I found that no one was dictating the play.
Right.
But you never know. Let's see how they turn out in the next game, the following weekend, after the England and the internationals, World Cup qualifiers, and then we'll be able to tell from there.
That's right. Well, I think that's that for the Puppet Premier League and the close of the transfer window. Next up, we have something which is also on our radar screen, which is because we are in the month of September. It means it's the month for Formula One.
And what's the Formula One without the girls? Presenting the Singtel F1 Grid Girls.